is Denise Souffrant, and I am the ranch manager here at the Lion Habitat Ranch. And you guys will get to meet Alex. She's one of our keeper trainers here in just a little while. I'm going to start off by going through just a quick PowerPoint just to kind of talk to you guys about kind of what is zookeeper career look like. And then Alex is going to kind of show you some stuff around the ranch. We're doing some cleaning and stuff on property, and you guys will get to see some of the animals as well. All right, and then if everyone's ready, I'll go ahead and get started. So I kind of did the introduction already. So what do you guys think it takes to be a zookeeper? A lot of people think that zookeepers just play with animals all day. Well, that's a great part of our job. We do get to interact with our animal charges, but we also have to do a lot of work as well. And a lot of people don't actually know that there's a lot of paperwork, cleaning, more cleaning, dishes, more cleaning to take care of animals. So we also have specialized degrees. We study for different tests. We have to have a passion and drive. You get into this field, honestly, more so for your passion, not money. It's not a good field for the money, for sure. But it's something that we all truly love that we get into this field. I started here at the Lion Habitat Ranch as a volunteer in 2015, and I started as an employee back in 2018. And I have a degree in psychology because I like the training aspect with classical and operant conditioning. When Alex does her introduction later, she can kind of go over her kind of education background as well. And then, so again, what does our day look like, really? We come in at 6 o'clock in the morning. We'll have a quick morning meeting just so everyone's on the same page, and then we'll get started with taking care of all the animals. So we have diet preparation. We have to clean the enclosures, do any maintenance on the enclosures, make sure they have clean, drinkable water, and then also just cleaning the kitchen and everything like that, because we do have inspections from the USDA as well as the Zoological Association of America, because we do have that accreditation as well. So it's a lot of cleaning and maintenance. You guys will get to see that in just a little bit, but here's a sneak peek of some of the magical cleaning things that we do get to do. So a lot of raking and sweeping, and then we also have the pump in the bottom left hand corner because we will drain out all the water pots and scrub them nice and clean before refilling them with fresh water. And then even more cleaning, so dishes, cleaning the cart, lots of dishes, lots of cleaning, lots of hosing. But we do get to do a lot of fun things as well. We work as a team together, and then we have a lot of good times with our animal charges as well. And we're going to save the questions for the end. I had the boring part, but now you get the more exciting part. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Alex. She's going to tell you a little bit about herself and her background, and she's going to talk to you about some of the stuff we have going on at the ranch.
How's it going? My name's Alex. I am a keeper here at the Lion Habitat Ranch, and all the things that Denise said are true. And I'm going to show you around today and show you some of our keepers that are out working right now. It's pretty warm here. Today it's supposed to be, I think, in the 80s, so it's not too bad yet, but it gets really hot here, and so we do a lot of things to keep our animals nice and comfortable, even things like repairing and maintaining their swamp coolers, because all of our lions, like Lucky here, that hopefully you guys can see in the video, they all have a swamp cooler hooked up to their little house, so they can stay nice and cool if they'd like. It's very nice out today, so Lucky likes to hang out under his tree here. All right, and I'm gonna walk you around to an enclosure. Let me know again if there's any problems with the video or anything. So right now what we're doing is, Tuesdays are a day that we're actually closed to the public, so the zookeepers here are doing a lot of work. And as Denise was mentioning, it can be a lot more work than you might think being a zookeeper. And this is one of the days where we're pretty much doing all of the deep cleaning of our enclosures so that everything stays nice and clean for all of our animals. And so we can come check some of that out. You might notice we've got a bunch of keepers around. We do work in teams because we are working with some animals that can be dangerous if you're not paying close attention. So Megan's checking her locks, making sure those are all good. And then another special thing about today that you'll probably see in a moment is our lions are going to be getting, hi Bentley, are going to be getting some shank bones today. So they're getting an extra special treat. This here is Bentley. He's very excited because he knows it's treat day. And I'll give him a little snack as well. You guys can see that. We do hand feed all of our lions, and if you can see me giving Bentley a little treat there, I do keep my hand nice and flat against the fence there, which is very important. It's one of the things that we're trained to do before we get anywhere close to the lions and feed them, is make sure that we're always doing the appropriate things when we're around them, always paying attention to their body language. You can kind of see that Bentley, he's moving around. He's pretty excited right now. He knows what's happening. He's not growling at me or anything. And if he were, I would be sure to move away from him, because we want all our lions to be really comfortable, because this is where they live. And that's a very important part of being a zookeeper, is making sure that your animals are comfortable. And if they're, they are telling you they're not feeling well, or they're telling you that they're not okay with what you're doing around them. And so that's a really cool part of our job, is to be able to interact with them and watch their behavior, because just like us, there are certain things that they don't like, just like us, and there's certain things they really like we do. And so in just a sec, he'll get let out of this little lockout area. So what happens here is we have this little lockout area where Bentley is in this area where he's tight in here right now, so that we can go inside and clean. He's only going to be in here for a few minutes until we're done cleaning his enclosure. We'll go in and pick up all the yucky stuff, and then we'll give him his nice treat in a minute and let him right back out. So that keeps him safe. It keeps us safe. And so one of the other things as a zookeeper that you have to keep in mind is making sure that you're doing all of your protocols. You're checking that all of your locks are good. You're checking that all of your enclosures are nice and secure, and nothing's in there that's going to hurt any of your animals either. I need a quick approval from Denise. If somebody can switch me over, can I take them in an enclosure?
Denise, you can unmute, sorry. Oh, she doesn't need to unmute.
Oh, did she just try to radio me? My radio's up. Was that a yes?
I think she was trying to radio you, but she's nodding her head.
Okay, cool. Right. Oh, actually, before I do this, I know my keepers are in here, but I'm gonna go show you guys exactly what we do. So I've got two lions here. I've got Duda Marina. I'm gonna make sure that they're nice and tight in here. Dude's gonna give you a little growl. You're okay. Dude gets very excited about his snacks, and so he's telling us that he knows his snack is coming and that we're not allowed to eat it. So that's the first door of my enclosure. I have a second door here. And then this is their den box that I'm walking up to, that our keeper Robert is spraying out right now, making it nice and clean. They got some little platforms, different things to play with. And then one of the other things we have to do a few times a week is come over to their water pots, make sure they're nice and scrubbed and clean, and fill them up. And you're getting a cool look at things, because not everybody gets to go in enclosures, so be excited, guys. Can we see in our den box real quick? So this is what their den box looks like. It's a nice little place for them to lay down. Obviously, we're going to be squeegeeing it out. Nice and cozy. This is a heating pad right here, so that when it's cold out, they can lay on this and stay nice and warm. That's and that skylight. Their skylight, that's right, there is actually where their swamp cooler is attached. So when it gets over 90 degrees, we're actually going to be turning that on so they can stay nice and cool. Thank you, Alex. I'm going to stop Megan when she's coming through here. Come here. Almost ready to let out Bentley. Megan, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up working here?
Oh, no, we haven't. Hey guys, so I went to school for biology, so a lot of science classes, and then I started focusing on classes that let me work with animals, especially mammals like lions. And so I did a lot of school, and then I went and did what we call an internship. So you kind of work for free and you get a lot of experience doing stuff, get to try and work with a lot of different animals. And then I found this place here, and I grew up here, so it was really nice to stay at home and find some work with these cool animals here.
I know everybody is kind of from all over the place, so just a reminder, we are currently in Las Vegas, Nevada. Hi, Marina. Robert, will you stop spraying things and tell us about how you ended up here and what your background is?
Denise imprisoned me. I mean, children. Well, where do I start? I worked at another sanctuary with over 700 animals, and we were a way station. From Fish and Wildlife would take animals, and they would give them to us, and we would take care of them, rehabilitate them, and then relocate them to other places, like the lion habitat here. If we got a lion in at the way station, we would help it out and then find this place and hopefully give it a nice home. That's basically how I got my start into the animal industry, is kind of saving animals' lives.
What's your favorite thing about being a keeper?
That I'm disposable. I'm kidding. My favorite thing about being a keeper is you kind of get like a sense of reward after you take care of animals for, and you could see that the animals are happy. Gives you a sense of rewardment. You're welcome.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay, so that's a couple of our keepers' backgrounds for you guys. We'll walk around and see some of our other animals, and I'll talk to you about some of the other stuff that we do here. And so if you've been to kind of a bigger zoo than ours, those zoos might have a lot of different teams that work with a lot of different animals. So they'll have a team, say, for the lions, and a team for the birds, and a team that does a lot of maintenance on the property. But if you work for a place like ours, it's really cool because you actually get to work with every single animal here. And you get to do all the cool maintenance stuff as well, which it kind of sounds silly maybe that I'm saying cool maintenance stuff, but I think it's pretty neat to learn how everything that your animals are using to keep them comfortable, such as their swamp coolers, their misters, all of the things that are hooked up like hoses that you might not normally think of. All of those things are things you get to learn how to put together yourself, learn how they work, and then you're just even better at taking care of all of the animals that you have. We're going to come in and see one of our birds, and I'll show you our bird setup. This is one of our bird enclosures, and hopefully you can see Houdini really well back here. He's being silly for you. That's his favorite toy, that ball right there. And so he's showing you playing with his ball a little bit. And you'll see in the back of Houdini's enclosure there's a bright light. That light is actually a heat lamp to keep him nice and warm. And he also has a little nest box, just like our lions have their den box. And there's also a heating pad in that box as well. So he can choose to be near the light or inside the box near his heating pad. And all of our animals have different personalities and different likes and dislikes, as I was saying before. Houdini here doesn't really like to go in his box, and so he gets to choose which thing he wants to do. He's coming over a little closer to say hi to us. I'll see if he wants a treat. Houdini's a pretty good bird. He sometimes gives me a high five. Good job. So of course, the coolest thing is getting to work really closely with our animals and train them. And again, working at a facility that's really small, like the lion habitat, you get to do all of the training as well as all those other things that I was talking about. Houdini came to us as a pet surrender, unfortunately. We think he's somewhere between 7 and 12 years old. And these guys, he's dancing for us. Good job, Houdini. Thanks for showing off. He likes to play hide and seek as well. So unfortunately, macaws like Houdini, Houdini is a blue and gold macaw, they're going to live about 30 to 35 years in the wild. And that means when you have these guys as a pet, they can live as long as us. They can live up to 80 to 100 years even. And so if you have these guys as a pet, they might outlive you. And then if you have to pass them down in your will, they might not like the person that you pass them to, and they'll end up somewhere like here. And we're so happy to have all of our birds, but of course they're very comfortable with the people that they get used to. Houdini. Yeah. And they would prefer to stay with their owners or with their bird partner that they might have in the wild for life. And so you just have to be careful when you get these birds as pets. And they might be something that you'll work with a lot if you are a zookeeper, because you might end up with a lot of them because people had them as pets and unfortunately had to give them away. So Houdini, just like our lions, has all kinds of toys, like his ball that he was playing with up there. He's got another little ball up here. And then he's got his food dishes up here, which we have to replace multiple times a day. Let's see if you have any snacks left. So he's got kind of a plethora of different snacks in there, seeds, and looks like peanuts and some vegetables. So for breakfast, our birds get usually either vegetables or fruits, and then they'll get switched out with seeds or a special bird pellet in the afternoon. And then of course he's got his water in here, which we need to make sure is full and clean. Yeah. I'm doing a little target training with Houdini too, which is something cool that I can show you. And it's one of the things that we use to train many of our animals, including some of our birds and our giraffe, which we'll see in a little bit. So in my hand, I have a little clicker, and the clicker makes a little click sound. And Houdini knows that that click sound means that he's going to get a treat. So now he's looking for a treat from me, but I'll see if I can click this in my hand. We'll ask him to do something. Can you give me a high five? And when he gives me the high five, I give him a little click from the clicker, and I can give him a treat. And then he also has what we call a target pole, which is just a stick. You could even make one of these yourself. I'm trying to get it off my belt. I'll show you in a second. A target pole, and it's got a little doober at the end, and Houdini's going to touch it with his beak, and that's called targeting. So I can tell Houdini, target over here. Are you going to hold it? Target. And you target, and he can move to the other side. So each time he touches it with his beak, he's going to hear a little click, and then that means he's going to get a really big treat for that. It's a pretty cool thing that we can do with our animals. And what that actually does is it helps me to take care of Houdini, because if, for example, Houdini didn't want to move to, say, this part of his enclosure over here, but I needed him to go over there, one of the things that I can use is the target pole and have him move to that spot where the target is. He can even do it. You want to go over there? He's slowly creeping his way. You gonna target over there? Good job. And that can help me out if I need him to move around his enclosure so that I can fix anything, or if there's any other reason that I need him to move around. It's something that's helpful to us. And that's what we do with a lot of the training that we have here at the ranch. Is our training will specifically be to help our animals, one, have nice fun activities to do to bond with us, but also to help us out to keep up their health and make sure that they're staying nice and safe. Alrighty. See what we can move on to next. I'm walking past a number of our enclosures. So we have a number of other birds here. We have about 11 different parrots. This is Z. And we have 26 lions here on property. Z's getting really bright red for you guys. That's one of the things that I was mentioning about making sure that you're paying attention to your animal's behavior as a keeper, because sometimes when Z gets really bright red, it might mean that he's a little bit upset. And so when I give him this little almond that I'm gonna give him right here, I'm gonna be very careful and see if he wants to take the almond or he wants to maybe try to bite me, which is okay. He might just be having a bad day. And so if he's having a rough time, I don't need to go into his enclosure to clean anything right now, so I can just leave him alone. Now he's saying hello to us as we walk away. You can see Bella chilling out back there, maybe. You wanna come here, Bella? Come say hi. I'll see if Bella wants to see us. Bella is one of our sweetest lions. Again, they all have their own personalities. She seems like she's really relaxed back there, though. Bella, come here. Do you want a snack? She says no. We'll find another lion that wants a snack. What'd you say? Oh, Denise is coming out to get Bella up for us because the other thing about our lions that's just like people is they have favorite people. They've got best friends. And Denise here is actually Belladonna's best friend. Sorry if you can hear our dog in the background. He's being a little loud. So she's really affectionate, and this is something that we get from our lions as well. When they really like us, is a lot of affection. So she's rubbing up, she's letting Denise pet her a little bit, and so we get a lot of interaction with our animals. But again, this requires a lot of work. It requires spending a lot of time around them, spending a lot of time in their enclosure just cleaning so that they get used to your smell, get used to your just presence, get used to your voice, so that when you call their name, they know that it's somebody that they know. And then if you bond with them really well, like you can see Denise and Bella get along really, really well. They'll give you lots and lots of attention and love. And you might hear a dog barking in the background. That is Diesel. He is our guard dog. He comes out at night and he guards the property. We also have a live-in keeper, which might be something you're interested in too, is actually living at a zoo. That would be pretty cool. And so this is our guard dog that stays with our live-in keeper, and at night they're around to make sure that all the animals stay safe and nobody's trying to come into our facility when they shouldn't be, and just keeping everybody safe.
He gets along with the lions?
He doesn't have access to too many of them, but actually the lions, like Bella right behind me, there's 3 of them that he can run right by every night, and they actually do quite well with him. What's a little bit funny is we don't have to worry about him around the lions. We actually have to worry about him around the trash cans. Because he likes to get into stuff. But just like our other animals, when he knows you, he's very, very sweet. Diesel knows me quite well. But if you are somebody that an animal doesn't know, you always want to create a relationship with them before you go to touch them, or before you even get too close to them. So Diesel's a really good guard dog when it's somebody that he doesn't know. But when he starts to know you, he just wants love. Animals are very good about that, about knowing what people they know, what people they don't, and what people have good intentions and what people might have some bad intentions, which I think is one of the coolest things about working with animals. Thank you, Diesel. We're going to head over to Ozzy, our giraffe, and see what he's up to. So this is right in front of me. I'm walking toward our giraffe barn. So he has this big barn, and then he also has a yard that's about 1/3 of an acre that goes both directions down either side of our facility. So he gets to run around and play out there. He's actually all the way down at the end right now, and I'm going to see if I can get him to come over into the barn a little closer to us. I'm going to tempt him with some carrots.
This is absolutely fascinating stuff. One of the questions that the kids wanted to know while you're walking, they wanted to know, what are the official titles? Would you guys consider yourself like zoologists? This will be for Alex.
Yeah, so here at the ranch, I would call myself a zookeeper. Okay. That is my title as an employee here. But in terms of my education, I am a biologist and a biochemist. So I have a degree in biology and degree in biochemistry. So if you specifically got a degree in zoology, and for example, maybe you worked in a laboratory or something like that, or doing research with animals, you might refer to yourself as a zoologist. Sorry, we got a lot of beeping over here. I'm trying to get away from for you guys. You're okay. But here specifically, my job is to be a zookeeper. What other questions did we have? Well, I try to see if our giraffe wants to come see us.
I will go ahead and unmute some of the kids who had questions. We'll start
awesome.
with Alba, and Alba is in Spain. Alba, you should be able to unmute to ask your question. You had a pretty good question.
Yeah, I was wondering if you also take care of the medical treatment of the animals, or do you have a personal vet or something like that?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. So all of the zookeepers here at our facility, I was gonna go see if I could grab one of our birds, sorry. It's a great question. All of the keepers here at our facility are trained to do basic veterinary care. So we give all of our animals all of their medications that they can get orally. We also give them even things like eye drops sometimes. So if it's not something that we would have to have a vet come and maybe like put our animal under anesthesia, such as like to take blood for blood tests or something like that, we get to do all of that stuff. So we have really good bonds with our animals. So like Ringo here, he would actually let me cut his toenails. I could put any medications he needs in his foods, any kind of medication that I can spray on him or place on his beak. I can do all that myself. And then if we need something like a blood draw, we'll call our vet in.
Interesting. We had Valentine, and Valentine, you should be able to unmute. Valentine is in France.
Hi, I would like to know if it was possible to create like a real relationship with one of your animals or not.
What do you, can you be a little more specific? What do you mean by a real relationship?
I think he's saying like the friendship that we saw with Denise and Bella, and obviously there's clearly one. How long does that take, would you say, developing that kind of friendship or relationship? And I'll let Denise unmute as well if you wanted to add anything.
It depends, honestly, because each animal has its own personality and like you have different relationships. And so it honestly also just varies, especially like some of our birds were rescues. And so it took a little bit longer for them to come around to like actually liking some of our keepers because they came from a really bad background and maybe didn't get the guest care before they came to us. And then it just honestly, it varies. I couldn't give you an exact time on any of it.
Okay.
Yeah. So
would you say that it's kind of similar to developing like a friendship with somebody?
Yeah,
like
I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think absolutely that's the case. Because again, they all have their own personalities. Some people don't like, you know, a lot of other people don't like, you know, hanging out with people as much as others do, and other people are super, super social. And the exact same thing happens with our animals. Ringo, who I'm holding in my hand, is a baby blue and gold macaw, and he gets along with everybody. He loves everyone. And then we have some lions, like Dude, who we walked by, who growled at us a tiny bit. He really doesn't like anybody very much. He likes snacks. So some of our animals, it takes, you know, maybe just a couple months for them to get really used to you, and other ones maybe even years.
Absolutely. We have Angelo, and Angelo is in Italy. Angelo, you should be able to unmute to ask your question.
Hi, I would like to ask like what happens if like an animal get out of the fence?
Have you guys ever had that where an animal gets out?
So we have protocols for each of those things, which is actually very important if we're talking about being a zookeeper. That is something that you have to pay attention to as well. Like I was talking about with the locks, we have to make sure that all of our locks are nice and secure. And so we don't have animals get out because we have a system that's set up so that multiple keepers are checking all of the locks. And we know that all of the animals are very secure. Like Ozzy has a nice lock here on his enclosure that multiple keepers are going to check every day. And that's something that you have to be aware of, or what are your requirements for your facility so that you know how to make sure that your animals are always staying in your enclosure. And then if something bad were to happen and one of the animals were to get out, you would know exactly what to do. So for example, if one of our birds, maybe a door was left open on accident and one of our birds got out of its enclosure, well, that's not something that's really going to hurt anybody. They can bite pretty hard, but what you can do is, make sure that the animals are, sorry,
we had a connection issue.
oh yeah, no problem.
Because we're doing the Q&A stuff. Denise,
Yeah.
I'm going to pop it over to you, and then I'm going to see if we can answer a few more of these questions, if that's okay with you guys.
So one more thing I just want to address really quick with the escape. So we have protocols for escape and recaptures is what we call it. Good facilities will have procedures in place. In the incident, you have a code green, which is usually, like Alex was saying, is something like a bird maybe gets out, or your code red, which is your more dangerous animals. And we're required actually to run drills at least once to twice a year. So we go through the procedures, and then we'll actually do a practice, and we actually use Diesel as our guard dog. He acts as our lion that we have to work to get back into his enclosure safely. So that was another thing we were talking about. A lot of things you don't know about being a zookeeper. It's a lot of paperwork. So we have a lot of procedures and protocols that we have in place. We have a lot of drills we have to do. So in addition to the cleaning, as far as safety goes, we have to make sure we're keeping everyone safe by following our procedures correctly, and then also going through our emergency action plans. We even have plans in place for fires, tornadoes, earthquakes. We have a lot of our emergency action procedures and protocols that we have to review once to twice annually. We try a little bit more just because it's a little bit better to be more prepared than under prepared. And then I believe Alex is going to need to go down towards Ozzy. So we also are doing some other work on property with big boom lift. Ozzy likes to follow the boom lift around, so she may have to go down to him, and she can keep herself muted, so that way you guys can at least see Ozzy, and then I can go ahead and just talk for her. What? Like, she's muted. So she's going to be walking down Ozzy's walkway. And then if you guys have any other questions, don't hesitate to ask in the meantime. And then I'll talk about Ozzy when she gets down to him.
Absolutely. And I was muted. Thank you, Raul. And I'll get to Raul's question in a second. But as someone who lives down the street from your facility, thank you for keeping the lions out of our neighborhood.
Yeah, of course.
So this is Victoria, and Victoria is in Spain, and she had a question for you guys. Victoria, you should be able to unmute to ask.
Yeah, how are you trying to not be afraid, but because you are so close to lions that for all of us, I think we can't stay close to a lion. How you can do that?
Sure.
Yeah, so it honestly, oh, look, Ozzy's following her. So it just depends. Just the way that we personally have our lions have grown. A lot of our lions were born on property and are related to the MGM lion you see roaring at the beginning of the movies. So they're very used to human contact, and they're all hand fed. Not all facilities are like that, and then also they are dangerous animals. They are still wild animals, so having that little bit of fear is something I think that's normal, and I think is respectable. And even as a keeper, you shouldn't ever, I'd say, not like just be like no fear at all, because I feel like that's a little bit dangerous as well. One of our keepers here, male keepers, he actually is terrified of birds. Lions are okay, but birds are terrifying. So also on that aspect, it also just depends on the person too. That answers your question.
Yeah, that is fascinating. And man, Ozzy's a tall fella. So
he is 17 feet tall when he's standing up straight and not slouching, but he has poor posture, so he's almost always slouching. And all the trees that you guys are kind of seeing on that walkway, that's part of his browse. He also has over 100 trees on the back side of his enclosure as well, and he loves eating all of those trees. Alex is trying to see if she can get him in the barn so you guys can get a better look at him. We'll see if he comes in. There he is. So this is Ozzy, our 8-year-old reticulated giraffe, and Alex was touching meat and her hands may not be clean enough. We'll see. I know I heard her wash her hands. There we go. And he can actually eat up to 80 pounds a day currently. And then you can see how tall he is. Each of those legs are about 6 feet long. The front legs look longer, but they're all about the same size. And then that neck is actually about 6 feet long.
I've actually seen Ozzy, that giraffe can paint.
He sure can.
I think that's the coolest thing. They get him a paintbrush and he goes to town on a canvas.
He does. There's also a little paint on his door if Alex wants to show you guys that. Let's see that little paint stroke. He put that there. He wasn't feeling the pink.
So we'll go with a few more questions and then we'll let you guys go. This comes from Raul, and Raul is one of our friends in Spain. Go ahead and unmute and ask your question, friend.
Hi. So first of all, it's very good to be here, and I actually really like looking at animals, and I'm fascinated by them. So the question is, my question is, do you think that safaris or other places are, well, they give animals more freedom, or are there more benefits when you work for the zoo?
It honestly, I think, depends, just based on the protocols and procedures, I guess. Sometimes if you're talking about safari, seeing some of the animals in the wild, there also causes some issues for those animals as well, because a lot of people are going out and invading their space, and human encroachment is actually an issue that a lot of animals in the wild are facing. So I would say that it just honestly depends on the situation, and you're just make sure that you're respecting the animals, if you will. All of our lions here, if that's what you're asking, and all of our animals here are actually very comfortable, and they're really well spoiled and taken care of. So they all seem pretty content and happy. A lot of lions will live about 15 to 20 years in human care. We've had a lot of lions live over that lifespan, and they live about 7 to 12 years in the wild.
Yeah, and we had, there's been, and I wanted to address this kind of with the kids, because there's this kind of misconception that there is an inhumane aspect or whatever. These lions and these animals in here get a lot of love and care, and in a lot of cases they were bought as a pet and they become too big and the people cannot take care of them. And because they were raised domestically, they can't just be released into the wild. So it's something to kind of keep in mind about the tender loving care that these animals get 24 hours a day. Oh, hello. Oh, I will unmute her. 1 second. So let me unmute Alex. Alex, you had something to add?
Am I unmuted?
Yes, you are. You're good.
Oh, okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure that I just wanted to comment that exactly what you were saying is exactly what I would say. You have to remember that our lions and any animals at any zoos have been born and raised with human care. This is what they know. It's different than when they're living in the wild, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. And a lot of the times it can be good in many, many ways, just like living in the wild is good in many, many ways. And then there's just trade-offs, just like where you decide to live, it's exactly the same. And the thing that you're really looking for being a zookeeper is making sure that your animals, wherever you work, if you're working at a facility like ours, if you're working at a bigger safari park, if you're even working with animals in the wild, which I love to do as well, that you're making sure that those animals are comfortable and happy.
Absolutely. And it's really the work that you guys do over there at the lion habitat is just phenomenal stuff. I put the link, I'll put it in the video for everyone after, but I put the link in the chat. You guys should just check out their website. They have a lot of cool aspects and features there. And so we'll go with one final student question. And this comes from Gabriel, and Gabriel is in Italy. Gabriel, you should be able to unmute to ask your question.
Hi, nice to meet you. What is the thing that most make you grateful for your job?
And this will go to Denise, and then we'll pop it back to Alex.
Yeah, because we have different things. For me, I like being able to connect people with wildlife because the more they know about wildlife, and like even if they see them at a facility like ours in the wild, whatever have you, and they get to hear somebody talk about it, I feel like it inspires other people to care. And that's super important, that we want to make that connection so that people care about animals. And you can help your native animals at home, or even just help the planet, like recycling more, anything at all, or just even like things you can do locally, just educating people about lions and wanting to care about lions. So maybe they want to do something to help lions in the wild. There's different zoo citizen science things that you can do as far as like monitoring like camera traps and things like that for people out the doing wild captures and photos and things. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do, but you just have to let people know, because they may not know that there's a lot they can actually do without actually being in Africa.
And we'll pop it over to Alex. Same question for you.
Yeah, so I'm a little more sciencey than Denise, a little more mathy sometimes. So as somebody with a background in biology and biochemistry, it's awesome for me to be able to see how animals behave, and also to be able to do some of their veterinary care, think about things that I've learned in my schooling and how I can use those things about biology, biochemistry, animal behavior to make animals more comfortable in their environments, and to even learn things about people through that. And so the sciencey aspect of it, and also of course being able to observe our animals and interact with them, is super important and special to me.
That's fantastic. And before we let you go, and we'll start with Alex on this one and end it with Denise. What kind of advice would you give to these kids? You guys are obviously pursuing your passions, but what advice would you give to these kids as they go off into the world and figure out what they would like to do? Starting with you,
Yep.
Alex.
Oh,
you're
sorry.
good. You're fine.
I've done a lot of different things as careers throughout my life, and I've found that the most important thing is doing something that makes you happy. Every once in a while, we unfortunately have to do things that we don't like as much, but doing something like being a zookeeper, or whatever comes to you personally as the thing that you don't mind doing every day, is the thing that you want to pursue for your life. Just being happy.
That's fantastic. And we'll pop it over to Denise. And Denise, same question for you. What kind of advice would you give to these kids as they go off into the world?
Well, if whatever you want to pursue, learn more about how you can actually get the job you want to get. Talk to people. Like I was younger, I talked to different zookeepers and animal trainers to figure out how I could get into zookeeping. If you want to be a lawyer, maybe talk to other lawyers and things. Just see what you actually need to succeed, because sometimes what we perceive that we should do is maybe not exactly what we should do. And there's a lot of different avenues that you can take in order to achieve your dreams, if you will.
That's great advice. And we can't thank you and thank Alex enough for spending the day with us. And everyone, we have a lot of exciting guest speakers and virtual field trips coming up. It's in the chat. Feel free to sign up if you'd like. But before we go, before I end the meeting for all, I'm going to spotlight our, of course, one of our stars of the show, one of these amazing lions. And can we all unmute and can we say thank you to Denise and Alex for taking time out of their day to talk to you guys?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.